my completely specced up €12,000 Levo dream build. Brett, should we check out how it stacks up?
Let's go, riders.
Riders, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes. And Warby, welcome back to the channel, buddy.
G'day, mate.
Thanks for your time. Now, we are doing the long-term, well, the 1 month review. Warby has been on my dream build because I've been quite busy in Australia riding a whole bunch of other bikes. And I thought it was interesting because Warby also has been on his Gen 2 Specialized for the last 4 years. So in this review, we're going to talk about how he's found it, how I've found it, because I've also been on my S-Works for 1 year, and also I've ridden this a fair bit of time here as well. So we're going to talk about, first of all, how is the Gen 3 compared to the Gen 2, and then we're going to go through all the parts, and they are all pretty specky parts, quite expensive parts, not going to lie. And Warby and I are going to give it a yay or a nay, and if we give it a nay, we're going to also talk about the parts that we might put on this bike. You happy with that?
Let's go.
All right, sweet. And legend riders, before we crack on, if you haven't subscribed to Sam's Bikes, please do so. Also subscribe to Brett's channel, Adventure with Warby. It's a wicked channel. He's a killer rider. Come on, riders, give him some love. And let's give some love to Insta360, the long-term sponsor at Sam's Bikes. I've been rocking the new X3, which I think is the best action camera. It really gives you a really wide, immersive shot when you're out in the trails, and I absolutely love it. And you can also run it as a 4K action camera. It does blow out of the water the competitors that I was using, won't mention them. Okay, so Brett has been on the dream build for the last month. How'd you get on?
It's really good. Thank you very much for the opportunity first, Sam. That was brilliant. I don't usually get to chart or ride these sort of bikes too often.
Dude, it's my pleasure. And riders, like, I'm not precious with my bikes. I see them as tools of the trade. And I absolutely love, like, Brett's a fantastic rider, probably a little bit better and faster than me, gonna say. Maybe not the jumping. I still think I own the jumping. But I love it because, you know, I get a second opinion of what we built here. So first of all, just how did you get on?
No, this is a killer bike. Really, really enjoyed it. So the biggest things I noticed from the old one to the new one is steeper seat tube angle really gets you up there. Shorter chainstay with the Mullet and longer front center. Keeps you really well planted.
Yep.
So my old one's only got a 455mm reach, where this one's 470, so it is a little bit more roomier.
So this is 476, I believe, this is an S4. And Brett is riding a large Gen 2.
Yes. I'm
183 and Brett's like 186?
188.
188. So let's talk about sizing. Would you go for an S4 or do you think you'd size up to an S5?
Oh, it's an interesting question. I actually like riding a smaller bike sometimes. You've got to look at the trails you're riding, honestly. If you're riding really tight stuff all the time, this bike's better. But if you're out bombing huge fire roads or, you know, open trails, bigger bikes are better. More stable.
Totally. Like, I've just been testing the Kelly's Theos F90, and I decided to size down just for the trails that we're riding here. And that had I'm 183, and that had a 466 reach. I think I'm about there. Like, I think with a 40 or a 50mm stem, I think I'm about there. But with a longer bike, I don't know, it's definitely where you ride. Like my Kenevo SL is like 485. That's a big bike. I think I prefer just a little bit shorter. So if you were to buy one, and we'll get there later, do you think you'd go S4 or S5?
Oh, I'd want to see if I could hire an S5 to see what it's like, personally. Yep. But it is, like, as in the front centre does come out a bit longer. I've found with my Mega Tower, I like 485 in my reach is my perfect 485, 490, something around that.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
Brett is, he likes riding a fair bit. You've got what, a Mega Tower, Santa Cruz Mega Tower, a Specialized Levo, and you have a Canyon Sender.
Yes.
So there is no brand loyalty here. at all. He's got a lot of different bikes, and he's also, what's your dirt jumper? And he's got a Norco dirt jumper as well, and a commensal bike
my son's using that at the moment.
And his commensal bike for his son, so definitely no brand loyalty here. Now moving on, so your Gen 2 was carbon,
Yes.
and this is aluminium. What did you notice the difference is in weight, flex? How did you find it? Is there much in it?
There's definitely a little bit in weight. That's the whole reason why people go to carbon. This is a heavier bike, but it doesn't ride that heavy. So personally, the one thing I really noticed, which sounds weird, but I noticed the heat that the motor produces, and when you touch the frame, she warms up. Yeah,
because the aluminium is conducting the heat more than carbon. So yeah, that's a good point. You know what I noticed? I noticed the motor's quieter. They're both quiet, but I noticed that the motor's quieter on this bike.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Yeah, so like it's just like not like every frame and the way the frames are manufactured, they actually conduct or amplify the sound differently. And I think aluminium on this bike, on the Gen 3, is quieter than my S-Works Gen 3, just because of the material. And moving on to geo settings, so the Gen 3 has the 6-way geometry changes. First of all, do you think that's a bit of a trend? Would you use that? And we were in 64.5 and the low setting. What's your thinking of those 6-way geo change?
Oh, I think at the start you'd play around, and once you found your happy place, you wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I agree. But also, I had an interview the other day with the Lone Wolf, Drew. Shout out Drew if you're watching, legend. And he had a valid point. It's like, these bikes are made to ride the whole world. Yeah. So it's like where you might want in Adelaide 64.5 and the low, but if you come over to Spain and if we go to the Alps, we'll probably smash it in the 63. Yeah. Like, you know, because you can adapt the bike. And now, what do you think about the Mullet compared to your 29er?
Oh, that's probably one of the biggest changes you'll feel going. I ride all 29 bikes, and then going back to a Mullet it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Gives you so much more flexibility in cornering, pumping the corners, agility. I do notice you have to weight the bike a little bit differently from the Gen 2 to the Gen 3.
Over the back a bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice any like overall speed or braking power? Like, do you think it's slower to brake or overall speed?
Oh, not really. I didn't notice too much on that.
No.
Not on the Mullet compared to you. Obviously, smaller wheel, you lose traction a bit easier from a little bit less force, but you got to be new brakes, new bike.
Yeah.
Only 1 month.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn on that. Okay, let's get into the weeds here. Let's compare head to head Gen 2 versus Gen 3. What are we thinking?
Oh, this is a hell of a Gen 3 though. You don't usually buy Gen 3s with this sort of spec.
True.
But in the way of that, the Gen 3 is a brilliant bike. Honestly, this would suit me better than the bike that I'm riding at the moment.
Yeah.
Updated geo, the reach and everything, that bike's a little bit too small for me.
Yeah, totally. So you know, are you going to be the $1 million question, are you going to be upgrading? Or if you were to buy a bike today, what would you be buying?
Oh, after riding a few of your bikes.
He has ridden a few of them here.
Honestly, I can't really say I wouldn't buy a Specialized again. From when I bought mine, it came out with 4 years of warranty.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So if you were going to get the Gen 3, what model and what sort of things would you be doing to it?
Key things for me, exactly the same as last time, is I'd want 700 watt hour battery, depending on where that makes me fall in the lineup. I'm happy to have an alloy. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think they come with the 700.
No, they do. They do. Yeah. You can get the alloy comp, which I think is 12,800 Aussie or about 7,000 euros. That does come with a 700 watt hour battery. And also, would you be fussed about the mastermind? You know, the digital TCU?
Not really for me.
No. I mean, you can get everything with your Garmin to work. I really love the mastermind TCU. I didn't think I would miss it in this bike, but I kind of do. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd upgrade to it because on the Garmin, you can get everything. Like almost everything. Okay, so now we've spoken about the Levo Gen 3. Let's go through all the parts and give them a yay or a nay. from Sam's Bikes and eventually with Warby. Now, we're going to first start off with Schwalbe tyres because I absolutely love them. So that is a yay from me. They're a sponsor of the channel. We had an ultra soft in the super downhill casing, 2.4 on the front. And then we had a soft, sorry, that's Magic Mary front and back. And then we had a soft 2.4 in the super gravity casing. Now take it away, Brett. What do you think of those tyres? I
love the Marys. They're good, really good. Coming from my background, I'm summertime over here, loose over hard pack. I usually run Assegai and DH-R2.
Yep.
Going on to the Marys, they're really, really good. I enjoyed the grip on them, honestly. One other thing that I really enjoyed about them is they do have quite a heavy casing. So for e-bikes, that's what I really like to see, so I don't have to run cush core and add the extra weight.
Yep, no, totally. I've had, in the 4 years I've been riding Magic Marys, I've had one puncture. And that was like a super sharp rock, just split actually the tyre open. Anyway, so that's a yay from you, Magic Marys?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
There's not even a touch of a dent in that rim either. So
no,
we ride some pretty rocky stuff.
That's pretty good because it's my bike. Okay, now going on to what I would say is the second most important part, brakes. And actually, riders, we're going to put this in order from what I feel is what you should be upgrading first, and definitely tyres. A lot of the stock e-bikes that come out come with the thin casing tyres, and you probably need to be changing those tyres out almost straight away if you're riding hard.
They do that for weight.
Yeah, they do that for weight, and I think all e-bikes should be weighed without tyres. They weigh bikes without pedals. I think they should be weighed without tyres because, you know, when they list those bikes at 23 kilos, they're really not. They're more like 24, 24 and a half with good tyres.
It doesn't matter if it's a downhill casing or a super gravity casing, they're a kilo and a half you're adding.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Like tyres, good set of tyres are going to weigh in about 3 kilos. So like as a pair. Now let's go into the brakes. So we go on the TRPs. What are we thinking?
Really good bite / modulation, but one thing I did find is when you were really going down some steep rocky stuff, it's just the amount of lever pressure you had to really apply to get you to pull up. They're good brakes, but as soon as you push them and they actually do heat up, you got to give them a fair bit of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Aaron Gwynn fanboy. He's been raving about these brakes for the last couple of years. Also, Piran's on the brakes. So, you know, like there's some pretty decent riders riding these brakes at the moment. I'm going to say I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, I've spent a couple of weeks on these brakes so far. I think it could be the brake pads.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that, so TRP's Tetro, and I've heard that Tetro don't make the best brake pads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some Galfa brake pads on when I get back to Spain. Good thing really, because he's burnt through these brake pads, riding some steep stuff. I'm going to agree with Brett. I think they needed more braking power from the hand. And on a long 2 to 3 minute downhill, I started to get arm pump. And I wouldn't say, I definitely don't hate them. I think they're definitely good brakes. But I'm going to say it's a nay from me at the moment.
After changing, because I've changed pads from Codes onto Galfa, and they do make a big difference to the feel of the brake. So I would prefer I'd say nay for me, but I want to check out the pads.
Yeah, I want to check out the pads. And if we were changing, what brakes would we be putting on this bike?
Honestly, on my e-bike that I'm running at the moment that I'm really happy with, I got Saints.
Yeah. I mean, on the Kelly's bike that I've been riding, the Theos F90, that's got Shimano XTs. And I'm going to say Shimano XTs at 280 euros or about 400 bucks. They're pretty killer brakes. And
how much are these?
These ones were 480 euros, so about $800 or $700. I don't think it's worth that upgrade. But saying that, if they came on the bike, I wouldn't change them.
No, they're good.
They're good brakes. Moving on to the third most important part when you're building up that dream build is the EXT coil rear suspension. How did you get on?
Firstly, it was probably a little bit of a wrong spring rate for me, but that, in the end, I got used to that. One thing I really did notice is the hydraulic bottom out. You just don't feel the bottom on these.
Oh, Yeah.
The other thing, we're riding Kangas, so it's a lot of roots. So just impact after impact. It just literally the rear of the bike stays so settled.
Yep.
I really like that shock, hence why it's probably going to stay in Australia.
Yes, we have done a little bit of dealing. Brett actually helped me with a fair bit of filming, so we have worked out a nice deal on this shock. So that won't be coming back, but I will be buying another one when I get to Spain to continue my testing. So I've done about 2-3, I'd say like 3 weeks on this shock on this bike, but I also had it on my VMG Typhoon, the Aussie-made bike. I have been blown away with this shock. Like, I've really like it. And we're going to say it is not a cheap shock. We're talking about 1,100, 1,200 euros, more or less, about 1,800 Australian dollars. It's not a cheap shock, but I would say probably it's the best upgrade for this bike, I would say, and the tyres at the moment. I'd be calling it there.
I found it pretty easy to set up.
Yeah.
That was one thing I found better, because rear shocks you play around with, get it all, but that's...
Yeah, generally coils are pretty easy to set up. Like, I'm going to say 100% a yay from me.
No. I like it.
He's a new owner. And yeah, Brett is about 100 kilos-ish. He was running a 525 coil spring, which is a bit too light. I'm about 85, maybe 90 after Christmas. And I reckon 525 is about right for me. I will still be doing testing from 500 to 550. Moving on to the forks. So we went the EXT ERA V version 2s. How'd we find them?
Anyone that rides these forks, I suggest you read the manual first on setting them up. They're not a normal set of forks.
No, they're quite involved.
Once you get your head around it, it's and you make sure you set your sag and get your pressures right, that they do light up. The mid-stroke support on these forks is brilliant.
Yeah, for a heavier rider, we're both, well, I'm middle the line. Brett's a heavier rider.
Oh, yeah, about after Christmas.
A little bit after, but you know, he's a strong rider. He's a strong guy.
A few too many beers, mate, with you.
But yeah, we have been. But you know, like, we did a whole bunch of filming that you will see here. I did notice that it really did sit up in its travel. That mid-stroke support was really good. He set them up. He obviously went off the calculator that they have, the weight calculator. I'm going to say also in the slow motion you're going to see here that there was a fair bit of flex coming through those forks at a 36 stanchion.
Did notice that.
And I'm also going to say at 160 the leverage is okay. I probably wouldn't be running these forks if I was going to 170.
You'd want to go to a
38. I don't think there is a 38 yet. They're also coming in around 15 to 1600 euros or about 2,500 Aussie. What are we saying? Yay or nay? We keeping them?
Do I have a budget?
No, there's no budget.
Oh, okay, there's no budget. It depends on... love the forks, they're brilliant, but you got to really like setting up suspension if you want these.
Yeah.
You want to be not the set and forget type of person. You really want to play with it if you were to purchase these.
Yes. It's definitely a boutique, more sort of, you know, higher end suspension. I'm going to say it's a nay from me. The reasons are 36 stanchion, and I would like to be able to go to 170 or 180 because these types of forks are something that you'd buy and take onto different bikes. You know, you would have them for a couple of years. So I'm going to say, and also I didn't mention it with the E-Storia. This is one of the only shocks that you can send back and they'll resize it for you. So you can just take it to your bike. So you can get it resized for a different bike.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, so like that's why I'm saying these are the types of suspension that you will take from bike to bike, where I'd like them to make a 38. If it was a 38, it would be 100% a yay for me.
I'm probably along the same path with you. The only reason I probably wouldn't be buying these is because I like doing a little bit of suspension work myself and servicing them, and I don't think you're allowed to do that.
I don't know if you're not allowed to do it, but if you want to change the air spring on this, it needs to go back to EXT, which I think I am a rubbish mechanic, but I change my own air springs. It's quite easy, and I do it quite often because I'm testing different bikes and I want to change suspension over different bikes. So it's something that I do. Yeah, So moving on, Brett, what would we say the next part would be? Oh, let's go wheels. So we went Insta360 hubs and DT Swiss 560 rims. What are we thinking?
There's nothing that beats the old i9 sound, sorry.
No.
That little hum that just comes around. Everyone just, a couple of my mates rode it.
That's money.
Yeah, I know.
That's money.
But they're just like, oh, I love the sound of that hub.
That's money, mate. It's money. But also, I don't know if you have, but lately I have heard, and I've also done it myself, I've ripped out all the, well, I was with you. I ripped out all the inners of a hub the other day.
Oh, yes.
And, and you know, the amount of torque going through these wheels, you do really want a good hub. And I have actually heard about Hope ripping out. Quite a few wheels have ripped out that I've seen. I've never had it on an i9. Yes, they are expensive. What are we saying? Yay or nay?
They're good.
Yeah, it's definitely a yay. They are expensive. Let's go on to a bit of a segue. Carbon or alloy rims?
Honestly, for e-bikes, my rear wheel I would always have as an alloy. If purely because I ruined my, you can see there's like 4 rims over in the corner over there. I'd do a rim a season easily.
Yep. And you have broken a Santa Cruz reserve, yeah?
Yeah, I've snapped them. That went off like a gunshot.
Scared the shit out of you?
Yeah.
Did you crash?
Literally, it blew up.
Yeah. Did you crash?
No, didn't crash. Just the whole wheel and tyre and everything came apart. But they replaced it within a day.
So Santa Cruz were really good about it?
Yes.
Yep. No
questions.
No money change hands?
New hub, new wheel.
Oh, wow.
So everything.
That's great. That's really good. And going on to the rims, the DT Swiss Freeride 560s.
Yeah, they're good.
Good value.
Yep.
Yeah, they're like 70 euros or like 120 Aussies. I would say they're probably the best value, strongest rim on the market. So that's a yay from me.
Yeah, 560s or 511s, whatever.
Yep.
They're good, both good.
Let's go on to now.
Cranks,
yeah. The Hopies 155. What do you reckon?
I wasn't sold on first at these. It was a different, but like as in the cadence, and it does give you how would I describe it? A narrower balance.
Yep.
So they work really well.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind. They actually work really, really well with high cadence motors or just keeping your cadence normally climbing.
Yep.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I got the idea. I saw it on a couple of other channels. I wanted to try them. I do get pedal strikes a fair bit. I don't think it's like we've got an e-bike, we've got all the torque, we've got the power. I don't think you need that much more leverage. And also, like, I kind of like, who's the Aussie guy or the Kiwi guy that rides the baby cranks, the free rider?
I'm not sure.
I'll put it in the show notes. But he said, I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he said that the closer his legs are together, it feels more moto. He's got more balance in the center of the bike because he's doing big tricks. I'm not doing many tricks these days, but I did find them. I'm saying it's a yay for me.
It's a yay, but they're expensive again.
Yeah, 230 euros. I'd say it's a yay. Yeah, I'd say it's a yay. And they are, they're tough as nails. Like, and also, I haven't looked at them really, but they don't seem to have any pedal strikes yet at all, Brett. Well done. Well done, mate. Let's go into cockpit. So we went Insta360 40mm stem, 31.8, and we went the Brendan Faircloud handlebars, the BF 800s cut down to 780, and the Deathgrips. Let's start off with the stem.
When I first jumped on the bike, I had to we flipped the stem because I was a bit low on my stack.
Yep.
After that, they're both really good, really comfortable.
Yep. Nice.
40mm works really well. I'm used to riding 35s up to 50s depending on what the reach I want to achieve is.
Yep. So that's a yay or a nay from that stem?
Yes. Yeah,
yep.
Definitely.
Yep, I'll have mine.
Is that 31 or 38mm?
31.
Yep.
31.8. Yep. I'll have my little point of view. I think I love the Insta360 stuff, and Insta360 helps out the channel a bit. I'm going to say their stems are beautiful. It's like jewelry for your bike, but probably not necessary. Like it's something that you buy the rider, something that you get for Christmas or your birthday or something like that. It's a bit of artwork for your bike. Not necessary, but if you've got the money, it is a bit of bling. I'm gonna say yay. And the bars, this is my first time with the BF 800s. Yeah, I liked them. They feel very, very similar to a rental. I would say it's almost the same sweep, same rise. It feels very similar to a rental bar. Got a nice bit of flex in them, not too much. I'm gonna say yep, yay, definitely yay.
Yes, for me, just make sure Sam puts on his grips properly.
Oh yeah, when Brett was riding the bike, I didn't tighten up. I didn't push it on the grip onto the bar enough. Come on, I built this bike like 2 days before I left to come to Australia. Okay, let's go on to the expensive wireless Rockshox dropper.
This is a silly one. It's so simple, but yes for me, because I've got one on my Mega Tower. You don't have to worry about stupid cables rattling.
Yeah.
For me, I would definitely go to 31.8 and throw a spacer in like you've had though, because then they're interchangeable, whatever bike you move to. That's one of the parts you're going to bring to every bike that you have in the future.
That's a good call. You know, this is how good a mechanic I am. I didn't know there was a spacer, and I put it in. I was like, doesn't fit. Oh man, I'm gonna have to get some. But there's like a shim. Bayer, I think, found the shim on my Kenevo because we stole this from the Kenevo. I'm gonna say, my point of view, these are about 500-600 euros, about $1,000, $800, something like that. I'm gonna say they're awesome. I didn't think they would be awesome, but like when you're doing the techie climbing, you can tap them. You don't have to throw the thumb all the way out, and it might sound a bit, strange to say, but it's just that extra movement. It's just faster to drop that saddle down, especially if you're doing a tech climb and you want to drop the saddle or lift the saddle just a little bit. Because when you're climbing really steep stuff, I change the saddle height a lot to get my balance on the bike.
100%.
So yeah, that's a yay from me. And
Sorry, I want to butt in. One other thing
Go for it.
My wife rides my e-bike a lot.
Yeah.
And if I've got a cable that I pull through all the time, it's shocking. Half the time it puts an uneven pressure. The thing sits up. You got to try and play with the cable.
Oh, when you're changing the height of the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
this you can just go up and down. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yep.
If you got two people that ride the bike.
Yep. So it's a yay.
Yep.
And what about the wireless shifting from SRAM?
It's clean.
Yeah. I mean, it's super expensive. We're talking like, I think it's like €1,000 for that setup. This is the X01. My point of view is this is fantastic. I stole this off the Kenevo SL. Now, if I was going to build it up, the most cost-effective way I think I'd do it, I'd go a GX cassette, I'd go a GX wireless changing, and I'd go an X01 chain. I think the chain's the important part, and I think the other part, like the chain, you replace more often, and also a cheaper cassette is steel. Those GX cassettes, I believe, are steel or more hardened alloy. I'd probably go there. So for me, I'm going to say if you've got the money, it's amazing. It's a yay. If you want to save money, go that way.
I'm all for. I think the only thing different from the X01 to the GX is the shifter thing. Something's different on here. That's in like.
There's not much different.
Nah.
So I'd go, GX. So there you go, riders. That was a bit of a long-winded interview about my dream build. And Brett, thank you for your time, mate.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. It's great, us just talking about geeking out on bikes. This is what we talk about at the pub normally anyway. Now, Brett is going home, or Brett is keeping the EXT E-Storia shock. He's buying it off me. And the rear wheel, maybe a few other bits and pieces, because Bayer has bought a lot of presents for the Spanish family and we need a bit of space. So you enjoy that, Brett, and maybe in a year's time, we'll come back and do another review of all those parts, the long-term review of the parts. And riders, if you have any questions for myself or Brett, put them in the show notes and we will see you soon.